Hi, I'm Ann Kennedy. I'm here at SES Toronto with Chris Boggs, who is CMO and partly COO of Internet Marketing Ninjas, which we love the name, and Crispin Sheridan, who is the Senior Director at SAP with his primary focus on SEO and testing. So we are also, all three of us, on the Board of Advisors of SES conferences, and we're here to talk about what's coming up. Chicago, guys, are you already thinking that far ahead? Yeah?
Absolutely. I would never miss Chicago. It's one of the most awesome shows there are for SES. And it's going to be exciting this year, I think, because the field of digital marketing is changing so rapidly that I'm not even sure what's going to be on the agenda, but it's going to be exciting and it's going to be cutting edge, and I would not miss it.
So, what are the top three things that make it totally awesome, exciting, and cutting edge?
Well, I think the diversity, we might not expect that from Chicago in terms of the companies that attend, but actually it's very diverse. The area that I'll be talking about is digital attribution. And it's something that people in Chicago have asked me to talk about. And it's one of the forefront areas of opportunity, I think, for digital marketers.
And kind of a holy grail, right?
Absolutely.
Attribution.
You really get to spend your money exactly the way it's supposed to be spent rather than not knowing what the 50% does.
And Chris, what are you going to be talking about in Chicago?
Well, typically I like to mix e-commerce into the play in Chicago. It's that and consumer packaged goods, as we were talking about, are big topics that typically you'll find a lot of attendees that are interested in. I just want to echo what Crispin said. In terms of the way that our industry is changing, it's really hard for us. We're recording this earlier in the year. Many more major changes could occur between now and then. So that's one of the great things I think about SES. And obviously it sounds like a homer because I'm on the advisory board, but I love SES and other conferences like this in our industry because of the fact that it's never just the same thing over and over, right? We're always on. We have to be on our toes. We have to understand the shifting landscape, and we have to be able to share our experiences with marketers. I mean, I'm on the agency side, you're on the agency side. Crispin's one of our great speakers that's on the in-house side, and having people from sort of both sides of the equation presenting at Chicago, I think it's always been very valuable. And it's a little bit more of a, I would call it almost, what is the word, where it's smaller and more intimate. Thank you, that's the word. Exactly, and that's one of the, I think, the best things about Chicago is that, there's a number of experts that are going to be there in attendance, and there's a higher likelihood chance, frankly, of meeting them and grabbing a coffee or a beer with them in Chicago than there is usually in San Francisco or New York. So that's one of my favorite things about Chicago is just the intimacy.
You raised an interesting point that one of the best things about SES is the access to experienced practitioners like us, and people can come up and talk to us. And we also know, I've been doing this now, I figured out finally, I'm in my 11th year of doing SESs, and I go way back, and that some of the best information is what we actually share in the social events, in the get-togethers, over coffee, over a beer, that just being able to sit down and talk with people, which is kind of how it always was. If you remember how we started in 98 and 97 with these businesses, is by on the iSearch discussion list, where we'd write in and say, hey, this happened to me on Yahoo, what happened to you? And so we've always been sharing, and this whole outgrowth of conferences and why you go to them is because we need to keep sharing, because things do change so rapidly. I mean, even the first 6 months, we've seen so many changes this year.
And I think the model of SES is the ideal model compared to many of the other conferences that I've been to, because you see the experts talking and you hear the theory and you see some case studies, but then you absolutely do get this access to people during the expert roundtables, in the hallway. People come up to the desk afterwards, and you actually get to hear someone's giving feedback to your particular situation. So it becomes very relevant and very useful.
Yeah, I would say too, another thing that I like about the SES structure, and again, there's other conferences that leverage this, but some that don't, is this multi-track, all right? And if you're a larger organization, and you can afford to send a few people, it makes sense because then you can sort of divide and conquer amongst all the topics. However, if you're not able to send more than one person, there's such great coverage now in terms of live blogging going on, the recap blogs, just the tweets alone. Is education in itself, just following the tweet stream of these conferences. So I just would say that one of the things, and I wrote a post just recently about sort of 8 things that I was looking forward to about SES Toronto. Well, I think that people should take the time before coming to SES Chicago to really look at the agenda and try to start to pick what it is that you need to learn, and because there's such a diversity of topics, ranging from global to mobile to paid to organic, owned, earned. Social's huge right now, obviously. Analytics, international, global, yeah, exactly. And coming in with a plan, I think, is very helpful. And again, if you can afford to bring more than one person, you're going to probably get a lot more data out of it collectively as a team. And you can have your paid search specialists go to the paid search ones, or vice versa. Maybe you have the paid search ones go to the organic ones, and the organic ones go to the paid ones, so that they know what the other one's trying to do.
I couldn't agree more. In fact, I have a colleague here from SAP who came all the way from Israel here to Toronto to attend the conference, and another person I spoke to has his IT person with him. And when you're not the only lone wolf who has to go back to the office and try and convince everybody else, we all know what that feels like, that you've actually learned something really useful, and this is something that needs to be put into practice, it really helps to actually be able to benefit from the conference and the learnings by having that friend or colleague actually be with you when you get back to the office to help implement.
And you've touched on an interesting point, that where we have come now with digital marketing, search engine marketing, whatever you want to call it, there are so many different facets that have to be employed that it's impossible to cover them all yourself. And you really do need to have a bunch of different disciplines in it. And so SES does a very good job of presenting content for each of those.
Yes, whether it be web analytics or testing. I talk often about our test lab at SAP, and it's something that people are very interested in seeing and talking about, because most companies are not doing testing as fully as they could be and getting the maximum benefit out of it. So you get to see some of the leading edge activities that people are doing in the whole digital field. Even online and offline attribution modeling is a very important topic. So this is really the place to do it.
I think it's great. So, Chris, we didn't say that you are also the chairman or president of SEMPO?
I'm chairman.
Chairman of SEMPO, which is our professional organization. Will SEMPO have a presence in Chicago?
Yes, SEMPO, we're really proud to have a close association with Search Engine Strategies Conference. Our industry has been around for 10, 15, almost 20 years, I guess, depending on who you are. Some people claim that it started, pretty early in the 90s, which is sometimes surprising to me. But bottom line is that we've always been kind of partnered in a common goal towards providing education and awareness about what used to be just kind of bucketed in as search marketing, but really has grown into digital marketing and social media and so forth. So SEMPO is very happy to continue to be involved in helping to sponsor and partner with SES. And from the perspective of us being a smaller industry with a certain number of leaders, in fact, the global content, I'm not sure actually what Mike Grian's formal role is, but he's the current president of SEMPO, right? So there's going to be some crossover there like that, which is very helpful for us as a group at SEMPO. But I like to think, hopefully, that there's providing some value to SES as well.
Well, in fact, I recall that SEMPO was born at SES. And I think it was actually SES Chicago. I remember the meeting where the union shut down the AV before Barbara Cole had finished talking. You don't do that to Barbara Cole, the web mama. But I think there's been a very close association all along. And you see a lot of the same people between the SEMPO board and people who are appearing at SES and all over the world. So I think, how many countries are you in now?
Well, I would say, I don't know the exact number. It's over 20. I would say that North America is certainly our biggest, sort of most active area of the world, but we have a very thriving area in APAC. Motoko Hunt has done a great job over the years, along with her husband Bill, in helping to grow and cultivate Sempo awareness and activity in APAC. I'd say I think that we have a lot of work to do in Europe. Europe's a little bit different in the way that they interact, and these kind of organizations sort of thrive there. So we're still learning how to do that. But in terms of APAC, India, Australia's launching a new group. We've always had a very big group in Japan. China, we have a group led by one of our board members, Michael Zhu, there, and so it's exciting to just kind of be globally, connected, as it were.
And what's interesting to me is that kind of mirrors the SES conferences around the world, because we just wrapped up one in Shanghai with Eddie Choi running that. So we bring all this, to bring it back to Chicago, we bring all this talent and knowledge into Chicago. And I think it's going to be a really good show, and it's a nice time to be in Chicago too, before the freezing cold.
Yes.
Yeah, before the big deep freeze comes in.
There's warming pizza there.
Yes, that's right.
And
That's right.
steak.
And great steak. So, thank you guys for taking the time to talk about this, and we'll see you in Chicago.
See you in Chicago.
Yeah.